So I'm kicking this off on a new channel. Well, it's an old channel, but I don't think I actually published really anything. I have to have a look. So I used to have a channel called Coda Catch Up. It's still there, but I haven't been really contributing to it for ages, and I've had I don't know how many false starts, and that's entirely me. Um, no external circumstances causing that. I used to be really consistent with the podcast when I had that, but I kind of had stuff that come up and it just pushed me away from it. And I sort of, I guess, fell out of love with it. And I tried to rekindle a bit, especially with this whole video side of things, which I love video and photography. Um, but I kind of decided I want a fresh start this year and thought I'd put on my Pixel Stack channel because that's the one that is related to like my Twitter handle or X handle. And it just feels nice to kind of like separate coding and more like general software and all that kind of a thing, which I suppose Code Catch Up could have been. But anyway, look, I just feel like resetting this a bit. Who knows? I might go back to Code Catch Up. But I want to, what's come up is I found myself in 2025 being highly reactive. And I think even for the past couple of years, I've been highly reactive and not as proactive. And this has led to me building up all this stuff that's on my mind that I want to talk about. It's led to me journaling a bit, just internal stuff for me. And some of it I've published in like internal Slack channels, just the odd post last year. I think it was more so towards the end of the year. And I've just decided that I want to get this stuff out. So if I end up finding myself in a place where I can't, or I feel like I'm too reactive and I've got stuff on my mind that I just don't have time for, like in my day to day, this is stuff I can externalize. Maybe therapy for myself, I don't know. So I've started writing as well, and I've got it on the site. And that's what I'm going to kind of go over today is this newest or first post that I've decided to publish. And there's three main topics, three or four, I think. Let me have a look. Yeah, it's just three main topics that I really want to talk about, which the first one is like coming back to work after a break. And like when I'm recording this is January the 20th, I think. And I've just come back from leave. I've been at work for like a week and a bit. And I had a good break off. And I find that when you take a break, which I'm notoriously bad for, like I think the past two or three companies I've left with like 8 weeks plus of leave. But I find it's a good time to reflect and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not talking about like new year, new me sort of thing, but I mean, it's a chance where all the noise sort of stops if you take time off, which hopefully people do. You really need to, especially myself. It gives you time to reflect and cut through the noise, and you have space for your mind to actually think, right? If you're not so reactive, you can actually sit and think. And this naturally, I feel like, happens around that holiday period just because it's a time when you are usually more disconnected depending on what you do. I know it's people like still writing software and all that kind of stuff over that holiday period. That used to be me. I will say I was 100% off the computer, minus a couple like personal things I wanted to print stuff out or whatever. But I was reading tweets and prepping stuff for next year sort of thing, stuff on my mind and talking to a few people. But generally disconnected. But what this time is allowed me to do with that, freeing up is allowed me to like retrospectively look at what's been happening, things that I want to do, things that maybe my teams and other areas of software I'm seeing that I want to talk about or dive into or try to increase everyone's skills in or whatever it might be. And for me, as a software engineering manager, I think this is really, really important. And it's a good way to also practice these skills to get these thoughts out. Wow, that was loud. I don't know if you heard that. Table just fell down outside. It's pretty windy. So for me, when I'm returning to work, it's a good time now to reset things. And the first thing is like looking after yourself first, right? This is the leadership discussions around, putting your own oxygen mask on first. Like, you can't help other people if you're not operating fine yourself. You're probably going to get yourself in trouble and others and that kind of stuff. So for me, it's always going back to resetting my time because at least as a manager, and this does happen as an IC as well, is your calendar will get filled up with different things that you get involved with, whether it's required of your job or it's like additional kind of a thing, or if you've sort of like, you don't have to do it, but you sort of like just fell into it that kind of a thing. It's a good time to clear that calendar out and make sure you set up focus blocks for you to execute effectively and have the desired impact that you need. Because if you're doing things for everyone else, you're not going to grow your own career. You're probably going to be harming yourself and others because you're not actually actively investing in yourself, whether that's personal growth or maybe it's like just doing more impactful work, things that are really moving the needle and not so much the day to day. So I find it's a good time to do that. The other aspect is for me, especially in the leadership space, is like understanding where things might be lacking in the team or there's opportunities for the team. One of the biggest ones I found, and maybe this is my bias and in an echo chamber, but the way that we use AI tools is not where it needs to sort of be. For me, looking at what a lot of others are doing, it feels like the bar is now here. And most people, and I'm talking about in general, are probably like down here. And it's way too low. Like the standard has been raised so much and it's only accelerating. 2025 seemed like a crazy year for AI. Like the speed was huge, and 2026 is only going to increase. And I know, look, there's a lot of people who don't believe in AI or purely skeptics or whatever. It's just the current lay of the land right now. I think if you end up sort of being skeptical of it and just ignoring it and pushing it aside, you're going to be in trouble in the industry. Maybe it does go boom and as in like a bang, and we go back to traditional software engineering, but I don't feel like that's going to happen. I'm not an AI optimist. Like I'm not on the far side of optimism. I'm also not a skeptic, but I'm definitely not in the middle. I'm more on like the optimism side. AI is not a silver bullet, at least yet, but what it can do is pretty amazing. I've seen this personally myself and from others around me. What it enables is pretty massive. Like it's not only the speed, right? It's also the fact that I can improve my impact because I can gather information more actively because I'm using MCPs and being able to bring in different sources, and it helps me like having another buddy with me. But they are just tools, by the way, that not buddies. There's that aspect. There's the aspect of it's enabled me, or at least reduced the knowledge gap into certain areas I wanted to get into. Take like Swift development. I wanted to develop a little app. I was going to do like React Native. I'm like, no, I'm going to do Swift. And I was able to use the AI to actually build out an app that I wanted, and I could let it teach me about the code. So I was, handling the atrophy of skills. I was also learning new skills, and I got the app that I wanted built, and I did this in a far shorter amount of time. So there's like wins all around. And no, the code isn't slop, at least from what I know of that, but other stuff I have developed and I look at, the code is not slop, especially when you're feeding it the right things and you're still guiding it. You're still putting that software engineering aspect into how you develop with AI. Anyway, slight tangent. The main thing here I want to cover is like the skills gap, or at least the knowledge gap around how you should be using AI is becoming greater and greater. And that's kind of scary because where we need to be in the future, you really need to be keeping up. And I still feel like I'm way behind, and it's still generally ahead of like most people that I talk to. So this is kind of like the, what do you call it? Like the big red light, the big calling card to say like, hey, we really need to pick up and start developing more and diving deep into the AI tools and using them effectively and properly effectively. There is like a lot of the talks of, you're not going to make it if you don't tackle AI. And I'm starting to believe that a lot more than what I used to. I thought we'd get to this like newer layer of abstraction around software engineering at some point, but not this soon. So that's kind of interesting. And I do find myself, I was saying to people like my coachees last year, is we're probably going to get to a point where you are essentially like your own engineering manager, but you're managing these agents and you'll have multiple of them running in parallel. And that's become more and more real, especially over the holiday period when the whole Ralphing side of things for some reason blew up. I don't actually know. If you haven't checked this out, it's by Jeff Huntley. It's called like Ralph as a software engineer, and it's essentially the TLDR. Like this is the extreme dumbed down version. It's a bash loop that runs your prompt. But it's a new way where you can have these parallel agents and you can either watch them cook and then guide them, or you can just let them cook in the background, have multiple of them, to the point where it's resulted in if you've got like tens of agents that you're running in the background, there's new software, new paradigms coming up like Gastown, etc., that allow you to manage many tens of agents comfortably. It's exploding. So I think there's an important aspect that we need to make sure that we're keeping up with these tools. So that's the one big thing. Now, whether you're a skeptic or not, I think you need to dive in. Worst case scenario, a lot of the skills that you're going to learn from working with these agents and harnesses and whatever is you will be able to transfer those into traditional software engineering. So creating clarity around requirements and being able to articulate ideas, how you formulate a plan, how you think about things. Your communication in general is going to increase. Like, there's a bunch of these things you're going to get for free. So it's not like if you invest in your time into AI and learning these tools and practices and all that kind of stuff, it's not all lost. You're still going to gain something from it. So you're better off just jumping in and sticking with it and sort of hedging the bet, right? Like, what if this AI stuff takes off and you've left it to the side? Now there's all these people that either continue to upskill in AI or are new and have like taken all on, and now your chances of potentially maintaining or getting another job are going to be greatly reduced because these are the new skills that you're going to require. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but it certainly feels like we're heading in that sort of direction. It's getting bright out there. So that's sort of some of the things I've been thinking of. But the other aspect here, or the other topic that I want to touch on, is AI development. Again, a lot of AI train stuff going on here. But the AI development, I was having a chat to one of my coachees, and we're talking about how you're going to be managing agents and all this kind of stuff. And I started saying like you a lot, like, hey, you have to do this, you have to do that. And it really just like something clicked. I'm like, gee, so like we like to collaborate in our teams. And I'm thinking, this sounds very, very isolating. This is like you're just you and your AI. And this made me feel like, is AI development, AI software engineering, is that lonely? Is it a lonely thing that we're getting into? How does collaboration work with this? It seems like everything I read or everything that I seem to practice, it involves just me or just a single person. There's very little communication in terms of what you want to build. There's no discussion around how this all works with, product managers and other maybe leadership and all that kind of stuff. Like, that seems to be out of the window. It's very much so you'd have a much smaller set of people that work together to achieve whatever goal. And you can generally build out the requirements of what you need very simply, because you also, when you're developing this stuff, it should be somewhat narrowly focused. And, this is generalized, by the way. Some stuff you can be quite broad and still get the right result, or the result that you want. It made me really feel like, where does the collaboration come in? Is this like a sign of something kind of scary? Like, are we all going to be just these people working by ourselves? Especially with, there's a lot of chatter around, one person startups and they're going to be running businesses. Like, maybe that's not too bad, but maybe there's something else will come out of this. But it just feels like there's an isolating aspect to it, which generally didn't exist with software engineering. Anyway, that's my thoughts for now. I've probably rambled way too much. If you're stuck around this long, thank you. Hopefully you subscribe. I also have a newsletter, which is going to link to these articles and stuff that I published. It's all much better written in there. And I've also got a bunch of links of things that I've been looking into or has interested me. So example, there's a bunch of stuff around Ralph and Ralphing AI. We've got Git subtrees, which I didn't even know about. I've always just used Git work trees. And yes, Git subtrees are pretty awesome. There was a post on the agentic coding flywheel, which is a really good way of like how these interconnected open source tools work in the AI space. How you can essentially reduce the chance of having sloppy prompts, because it is a thing. I know a lot of people say AI creates slop, but I mean, it's all based on what you give it and what it comes out. It's like you give that to an engineer, give them something very vague and not well formed and not certain practices and all this kind of stuff, they're going to create slop too. Just my thoughts there. There's a whole bunch of stuff around sandboxes that are coming out from the different companies like Vercel and Fly.io. Tmarks on the web, which is pretty exciting if you want to do some coding from your phone or away from the computer. And then I dabbled in some JJ as version control instead of Git, and I'm quite enjoying that a lot, especially with JJ UI. Very, very exciting. I'm quite liking that. There's going to be more coming on that. I think it's a nice way to develop, or at least work with your like part in your workflow of writing software. Trying to see how I can work that in with agents and stuff. I don't think it'll be too different from working with Git, but it seems to fit a little bit better. But anyway, that's it. I'm going to cut it there. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you in the next one. Leave any comments if you got in the bottom below the video, and yeah, catch you next time.